What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Ron Yates here. If you guys are hanging out with me for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel, and also go ahead and drop a like for the video. That really helps to get this information out to more people who need to hear it. And I just want to go ahead and thank you guys so much for all of the comments, for all the likes. The channel has just hit 6,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough. I'm just sharing my passion with you guys, and your comments, your praise, your thank yous, it goes a long way, guys. I'm just personally passionate about personal finance and investing and creating passive income and to help other people to achieve their dreams. For me, I started off, 15, 20 years ago, not having any kind of path, and thankfully, believing that there was a way to achieve financial freedom, I discovered it. And I'm actually still working towards it each and every single day. Me personally, I don't think that the journey toward reaching financial freedom ever ends. I think over time, you become more and more free. And I think that to really become happy, you always have to have a goal. And so if you've ever set a goal for yourself and you achieved it, if you didn't set another goal, chances are you're not as happy as you would be if you were chasing something that was important to you, if that makes sense. And so also what I found is that, I like to work out. I'm into fitness. And what I found is that a lot of people who set weight loss goals, for example, once they reach their weight loss goal, they end up gaining the weight back. And the reason why is because they didn't change the lifestyle in such a way where it's a lifestyle change for them. In other words, like, they can do whatever it takes to lose weight temporarily, get on a fad diet or something like that. But until you create a new lifestyle, you'll lose that passion. You'll lose that. So basically, what I'm saying is always have goals. And I think if you follow these steps that I'm going to share with you guys, you'll never be broke again. And every single day, you will become closer and closer to achieving financial freedom and no longer living, paycheck to paycheck if you are, or, you'll no longer be slave to debt. And I'm not trying to preach or anything like that, but there's some scripture, and I think it says something like the borrower is slave to the lender. And I think there is a lot of truth to that. Now, I'm not saying you have to be debt free, but I'm just saying, like, when you're inundated with debts and payments and bills, even, especially with high inflation and, all of the different changes to the economy that the Fed is doing right now with interest rates, it's bringing a lot of stress to people's lives. So I hope that in this video, I can share with you guys some tips and tricks to never be broke again. And to, at some point, I know it might seem a little far-fetched, but I think if you follow these steps, anyone could technically become a millionaire. And whether you want to be a millionaire or not, it's not a bad thing, right? But maybe you don't need $1 million. Maybe $500,000 is all you need to live comfortably, to live and achieve financial freedom. But I just want you to understand, like, it's not impossible. Set a goal, no matter what it is, and start taking action to achieve that goal, right? Now, most people might think that you need a 6-figure job or some family money to become a millionaire. And it's actually not true. You really just need to start saving early and to be mindful of every dollar that you spend. And, obviously earning more money would help you to achieve financial freedom and to achieve becoming a millionaire faster, but it's actually not required. Now, the very first thing that I would say for anybody is to just start saving earlier. Like they always say, the best time to have planted a tree was like 30 years ago, and the next best time to plant a tree is today, right? Now, the easiest way to build your savings account is to just start early, right? So, find just about any old bank. Well, I don't want to say any old bank. Find a good quality bank, especially in this environment now, that's FDIC insured, and take full advantage of the power of compounding. And, let's just say you're like 20 years old. If you were to contribute $6,000 to an individual retirement account, also known as an IRA, that's like roughly $500 a month. If you did this for 40 years, now $500 a month is nothing more than like $125 a week. If you did this for 40 years, you'd have an investment sitting at $240,000, but because of the power of compounding, your investment would actually grow to more than $1.37 million. Now, of course, this is assuming a 7% annual rate of return. And you technically be a millionaire by age 57 just by saving $500 a month. Now, most people, you guys, for at least my OG subscribers to the channel, you guys know most people have a car payment that's way higher than $500 a month. So an overwhelming majority of Americans, let me not say majority, an overwhelming number of Americans have an extra $500 a month that they could put toward becoming a millionaire and achieving financial freedom. Now, in your IRA, what would you be investing in? Stocks, index funds, ETFs, and these are basically, for the most part, the same types of products and investments, paper assets that you'll find on any of your favorite platforms. M1 Finance, Webull, Robinhood, Charles Schwab, So technically, everyone has the capacity to do this. But the question is, are they going to take the steps necessary to do it? Now, how do you invest $500 a month in order to become a millionaire? Well, you need to have a surplus. And all that means is you need an extra $500 a month that is not already obligated to paying bills. An extra $500 a month that's not already tied down by paying debts. Most people are spending their lives paying for things that are not really bringing them any value in their lives. And for me, the more I delayed gratification, the more I realized what was really important to me and to my family, like the things that actually made us tremendously happy. And, of course, some of my friends made fun of me. Oh, you're so cheap. Ron, you're so frugal. Pardon me for caring about where my money goes. We spend a very large percentage of our waking hours working for money. So, in my opinion, you're a complete fool to frivolously just spend your money, given how much time it takes to earn it. Now, of course, in the later stages of the game, I realized how to no longer trade time for money. But for the most part, especially the people that I tend to, communicate with and people who talk to me and during these coaching sessions, they tell me, most people are working for money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what's funny to me is when they're working for money and they're spending, 40, 50, 60 hours a week going to a job only to later blow their money on things that don't even really matter to them. That's like cheating yourself. So the next tip I want to share with you guys is, avoid unnecessary spending and debt. And here in America, we're taught that in order to celebrate, you should be spending money. And we're taught this since we're a kid. Whenever you got your birthday gifts, your birthday cards, you always hope that there was money in the card. I know I did. I didn't want a card that felt a little bit too light, because that meant that there was just some birthday wishes in there with no money in it. So I wanted some birthday cash, or I wanted a gift card to, one of my favorite stores. Back then, it might have been Toys R Us. Today it might be Amazon. It might be Best Buy. It might be, give me a gift card to some place where I'm actually going to use it. Maybe a gift card to Cheesecake Factory, or, name your favorite place. You might not want a Bed Bath & Beyond gift card for obvious reasons, but you guys get my point, right? But the thing is we're taught from a young age to, when you get money, we should blow it. What are you going to buy with your birthday money? Oh, I'm going to buy this. And so when we're trained at an early age to do these things, a lot of people don't realize that this is programming. And the system is programming people to become broke. The program is teaching people and conditioning people to keep themselves poor and broke. Meanwhile, the wealthy, the rich, don't teach their children to think that way. And, you know, it's your thought processes and your beliefs that cause you to make the decisions that you make. And of course, the decisions you make in life determine the outcome, right? So avoiding unnecessary spending and debt. You know, I used to spend so much money buying stuff I didn't really need, you know, and so I started to ask myself, you know, is this something that I really need? You know, do I already have something similar? And do I want this item more than I want to become financially free? Do I want this item more than being able to spend more quality time with my family? And as I started to ask myself these questions before making purchases, it became way easier. You know, and I talked about this before, you know, there is a sacrifice required in order to achieve financial freedom. There's delayed gratification, and that in and of itself is a sacrifice. But sacrifices become a lot easier when you have a why that is greater than the sacrifice itself. It's a lot easier to pass up on a meal, you know, like it's a lot easier to pass up on some dessert that's gonna, you know, add a few pounds to your body if your goal is to look amazing for your high school reunion. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a big enough why, whatever you're trying to accomplish almost becomes easy. And so basically every dollar you spend on something that you don't need is one less dollar than you can invest. And this is a concept that I didn't realize until, I don't know why I didn't realize it. It's very simple, but it's a concept that I never really thought about. And it's like, okay, every dollar I spend is another dollar I cannot invest. Meanwhile, you know, I'm looking at my friends and family, and, you know, a lot of people just spend money without really thinking about the compromise that you're making with the dollar that's being spent. So, you know, and it's cool if you have extra. But for me, when I was starting out, I didn't have extra. So wasting money on Taco Bell or wasting money on, you know, wherever I decided to eat versus making my food at home, it was too expensive for me to do that. So I had to cut back on that area and learn how to cook at home. And so, you know, every dollar you spend on something, never forget this, every dollar you spend on something, that's one less dollar that you can't invest. And when you think about it, think about $500 wasted on something. But then think about $500 compounded over the next 30 years. That $500 might be worth $1,500. Excuse me, $15,000, given the rate of return and the length of time that the money is invested. So it's kind of like, okay, if I waste $500 a day, this could literally be a $15,000 loss of potential future income by this decision that I'm making today. So I tend to think about things in a third, fourth, and fifth order consequence type of scenario. In other words, most people think single order consequence. Some people don't think any order consequence. And you might be thinking like, Ron, what the heck are you talking about? Like, what are these order consequences, right? So, okay, if I spend $500 on this TV, I'll have a brand new TV that I can enjoy and, you know, watch my favorite shows on, right? So that's single order consequence. If I do this, then that happens, right? Cause and effect. But I tend to think about things in a multiple order consequence mindset. So I like to think of things in terms of, if I buy this TV, I will have a TV at home to watch shows on. But if I do that, the second order consequence is that I now have $500 less than I would be able to invest in. I also have a TV that will likely distract me from being able to have the time available to learn new skills that could ultimately help me to start my business, come up with business ideas, expand my business, learn new skills that might help me to increase my earning capacity at my job. This TV could literally cost me significantly more than $500 today. It could literally cost me tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future. Because if I buy this TV today, this is $500 that I cannot compound over time. But in addition to that, the third, fourth, and fifth order consequences end up coming from all of the things that this TV is now preventing me from being able to do in the future, not just with money, but with my time. So I'm not saying don't go out and buy a TV. I'm just saying be mindful of the decisions that we make with our money and ultimately the decisions that we're making with our time. Now, some people say you should be always saving 10% of your income. And I would certainly have to agree with that, seeing as how most people don't save any of their income. You can't, again, any money you spend means that's money that you cannot invest. Now, the personal savings rate is basically the percentage of income that's left over after people, spend money and they pay their taxes. This savings rate right here in America dropped to like 2% in 2022. 2%. Now, I'm saying, most financial advisors would say you should be saving at least 10%. Me personally, I was one of those people who wasn't saving anything. I was in debt. I was up to my eyeballs in every credit card brand that you could imagine. And so I was definitely contributing to that statistic. But what I realized was that this was a dead-end path. And so I basically just worked my butt off, started paying off credit cards. I started selling things on eBay, Craigslist, you name it, Amazon. And I worked my way out of debt. And then I began to save money from my paycheck. And I started with 1%. And I started with 1% because, I knew I was supposed to save at least 10%. But I figured if I save 1% versus 0%, I'm infinitely better off than doing nothing. So I started off by doing 1%. And it was the weirdest thing to voluntarily make your paycheck be smaller every single week or every other week working my 9-to-5 job. And it was a little, it sucked at first because it's like, okay, if you're used to seeing, I don't know, maybe I was getting $800 a week from my job. I don't know how much I was making when I first started doing, matter of fact, it probably wasn't even $800 a week, whatever the case is. Let's say you make $800 a week. And then all of a sudden, you're getting $790 a week. Then it's like you're just psychologically used to seeing a slightly higher number. And while that extra, 1%, it's really not that big of a deal. Psychologically, you're like, I'm not really happy to see this smaller paycheck come in. But something magical happened at around maybe 5 or 6 weeks. I started paying more attention to the account that this money was going into. So my 1% was going into a 401k investment account. And by week 5 or 6, I stopped really caring about the fact that I'm now getting $790 deposited into my bank account versus the previous $800. I then began caring more about seeing this 401k investment account grow. At this point, I had also gotten used to getting $790 a week. I adjusted my spending, I adjusted my lifestyle to support this new reduced level of income. So then I said to myself, well, this is pretty cool just to kind of see the growth. It was only like 5 or 6 weeks into this thing. So then I'm like, wow, all right, let me go ahead and turn that knob just a little bit. Let me make it 2%. I could probably cut out, something here and there, and I'll live off of 98% of my check versus 100%. So then I started seeing my 401k grow marginally faster. And I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And it's funny because when I increased that additional 1%, my check was even smaller. My paycheck was smaller, which was being deposited into my bank account. But I didn't even really care as much as I did during the first time I started investing 1%. So I'm now investing 2%. My check is smaller, but I'm seeing the money go to some place and it's becoming more. It's growing. And just seeing that happen, it was almost like planting a tree and planting some seeds in the ground. And all of a sudden, you've been watering this thing for weeks on end, months or whatever, depending upon the seeds. And all of a sudden you start to see something coming out of the ground and you start getting, just this feeling of excitement. It's like, oh, wow, it's starting to happen, right? And that's what happened for me. And so while most people say, most economists and financial advisors, I'm not a financial advisor, most financial advisors say you should invest 10% of your income. I strongly disagree with that information. I think that 10% should be the minimum invested. Because what I learned is that most people, when they get a raise, they get some new money, they upgrade their lifestyle. And this is called lifestyle inflation. And if you can avoid that lifestyle inflation, you can take that new money and grow that new money into more money. And you can create multiple streams of income and passive income by investing that money that would ordinarily be transferred from your hands into somebody else's hands. And this is that wealth transfer that we've been talking about. A lot of people, millions of Americans have been a part of this wealth transfer for years, but they didn't realize that this wealth transfer was wealth transferred out of their hands into someone else's. And so when I realized the power of compounding money, then I started to learn more about investing, and I started to figure out additional ways of increasing my income, increasing my skill set, creating home-based businesses, small businesses, little side hustles here and there that made extra money that I could then use to invest more. Knowing that at some point in time, the passive income that's generated off of these investments would ultimately pay me handsomely. And it's a lot different to earn passive income than it is to earn active income. The more passive income you can earn, the less active income you need to make. And when you can make passive income, you can get to a point where you no longer have to show up to get paid. You don't have to show up for work to get paid. And the other thing I wanted to share with you guys is that as you continue to earn more money, I'm not saying never upgrade your lifestyle, but if you make an extra 50%, if your income were to increase by 50%, I would never try to spend 50% more just because I am earning 50% more. If I earned an extra 50%, I should say extra 50% after tax, then I might say, okay, I'll boost my lifestyle by 5% and I'll invest the other 95%. Why? Because generally speaking, there's only so much that I need right now. Now, if I was, really missing something in my life, that was making me unhappy, like if I was living such a low level lifestyle where, okay, I don't even run the air conditioning because I'm trying to save money. Okay, that's a little bit too aggressive for me. I'm not gonna sit in a house that's 100 degrees just because I'm trying to save a couple dollars a month on energy bills, right? But there comes a point in life where you don't have to spend that much more money to be happy. And this is where it comes down to figuring out what does it take to be happy for you. And I think growing up, a lot of times people mistake happiness with materialism, and they're very different things. So I got to a point where by incrementally increasing my income and incrementally increasing my investment contributions, that I'm now living on way less than 50% of my income. In fact, I'm probably living on about 20% of my income, and I can invest the 80. And I never thought that I would be here, but I would never be here if I didn't start. So anyway, I just wanted to share this information with you guys because I personally feel like, if you employ these things, if you take these steps and these little minor lifestyle hacks, and you think about whether or not these could work for you in your life, I feel like you'll never ever be broke again. And if you do it long enough, or if you do it long enough, if you're serious enough, you'll become a millionaire before you know it. So anyway, if you guys got some value out of this video, do your boy a favor, drop a like, consider subscribing to the channel, share this video with a friend who needs to hear it, and I'm gonna see you guys. Oh yeah, and by the way, check out my other videos here and here. Check out my previous videos. I think that you guys will enjoy those as well, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Be safe.